Stars
Podcast. This is the
Let me talk to you. This is such good shit.
That is right. Back at it for the Monday installment of the Five Starr Wrestling Report podcast. We're here each Monday and Friday on YouTube and Rumble. If you are new to the show, stopping in for the first time, thanks for clicking. Would appreciate it if you guys would support the channel by subscribing for me. Click the bell icon to stay notified of when our podcasts go up each Monday and Friday. And in addition, give this video a like and leave a comment down below to share your thoughts on the topics we discussed in today's episode. Going to be a shorter one than usual because there weren't any weekend pay-per-view events that I really found notable to talk about. So today on the docket, we've got AEW Rampage and NWA Powerrr to talk about. Normally, if you've been following the show for a while now and you tune in each Monday, I like to tack on weekend pay-per-view events with the final segment of the show. There really wasn't anything big going down this weekend. A couple small indie events here and there, but nothing I really felt I needed to go out of my way to check out. So this will be a shorter podcast, but it's all right. Kind of nice to get those occasionally. And as always, we will kickstart things with going over this AEW Rampage show from February 4th. Not as noteworthy of a show as Dynamite was on Wednesday, but there was some good amount of material to talk about on this one. Kicking off with Adam Cole taking on Evil Uno. And the whole idea going into this match is apparently them trying to prep Cole for an upcoming world title match with Hangman Page, probably at the pay-per-view in March. So who do they stick him in here with to rack up a win after losing to one comedy undercard goofball on TV a week ago? Well, they put him in there with Evil Uno, a fat undercard clown that has indie goofball written all over him. You couldn't find anyone else to put Cole in there with? Brock Anderson wouldn't work. Lee Johnson wouldn't work. No, apparently we have to give Evil Uno a payday for this one. The one thing that was good that came out of it that I can note is that it was short. Of course, they still had to let Evil Uno get in offense because it's AEW. Who cares if Cole's next in line for a title shot? God damn it, we can't make Evil Uno look like a complete schlub. Even though he's always been a schlub. But I'll even give Cole kudos for that post-match promo. Adam Cole's a great promo. Never said he wasn't. I still don't agree that Cole should be the next guy in line for a title shot after pretty much everything they've done with him since he's shown up in AEW and all the shitty booking they've dealt for him. But, I mean, this is probably the best form of damage control they could have done if they're going to try to give the guy some credibility at this point. I did laugh when he was naming off all of the dudes that he's beaten in singles competition. Somewhere in here, he randomly mentioned someone named Khan. I was like, wait, excuse me? So I rewound it, and he said Khan. I was like, Tony Khan? When did Adam Cole wrestle Tony Khan on television? Now, it turns out amongst the 487 guys they have under contract right now, there's apparently a job guy they use on the Dark Show named Khan. K-A-U-N. But, I guess I'm the geek for not knowing that, right? What do you mean you don't know who Khan is? Don't you know he wrestled Joey Janela for Outlaw Mud Show Wrestling in Dirtville, Arizona in front of 20 people at a gas station? Oh, pardon my ignorance. Guess I missed that classic showdown. Anyway, look, I don't want to get too in the weeds here with Adam Cole because I think I said my piece on him after that Orange Cassidy debacle a week ago. Aside from my genuine concern about his health right now, I just have no desire to see Adam Cole and Hangman Page for the world title right now. Like, not saying the match couldn't be good, but again, look, professional wrestling is about compelling story development and suspension of disbelief, and it always has been. And I understand wrestling now for a lot of people, especially all the Meltzer cucks and the moves marks. It's not about the art of captivating characters and stories. And if you didn't grow up on it and you've just willingly submitted to the modernized, watered down version of what wrestling has become now, I get why you'd be okay with Adam Cole being the next guy in line for Hangman Page. But you take one look at the way that guy's been booked since he's shown up. How in the world do you buy that guy as the next credible challenger for their top belt? I don't give a fuck about lights out and the match not affecting his win-loss record. Adam Cole just got pinned clean in a garbage street fight by the company mascot on TV a little over a week ago. And aside from that, his entire affiliation with the Best Friends over the last 2 months has been some of the worst program I think I've seen from AEW in a long time. It did absolutely nothing for Adam Cole, Bobby Fish, or Kyle O'Reilly. All of the matches sucked. And, instead of the Undisputed Era showing up as a unit and being the dominant faction that we all wanted them to be when they showed up in AEW, well, that didn't exactly come into play, did it? Fish and O'Reilly have completely disappeared from TV, and Adam Cole's at the lowest point I've seen him probably in his entire career. And that's not even taking Hangman Page into the equation either, who, I really don't want to be that guy, but I got to call it like it is. Page has not clicked as the world champion yet. I understand putting the belt on him was something that was in the works for well over a year, but the way he's been booked on TV since the fallout to Full Gear, it's been pretty bad. He just doesn't feel like a world champion should. He had those 2 great world title matches with Danielson, but have you kind of even noticed a fairly significant dip in the crowd response to him since the fallout to the November pay-per-view? It's one thing to build someone up on the card over a period of time, but you got to be able to carry that ball going forward after the fact. Otherwise, it becomes a story of the chase being more appealing than the run. And, booking-wise, I don't think they have any plans to take the championship off of him that soon. So, if they're going to keep the title on him for the time being, they got a lot of work to do. As much as I hated Kenny Omega's run as a heel world champion, at least I can credit them for the fact that they at least featured him in key segments on television. He felt like a main event champion. Most of the segments he was involved in sucked hard cock, but they did go out of their way to present him like a world champion. I just haven't gotten that same vibe with Page yet. Quite frankly, with them already kind of planting the seeds for MJF to be the next challenger after the Revolution pay-per-view, they already might be kind of moving on from the Hangman Page experiment. And, on paper, I should be excited about the idea of a Cole Page program for the world title. I think the promo interaction between them could be really good, but the interest level's just not there for me. So they got a lot of work to do between now and March 6th or whenever the show is to really get me interested in that title match. So after that, we had a Jade Cargill skit in the back where she tried to insinuate that her being green means that she's green like printing money. She wishes that were the case. So then we get Sammy Guevara versus Isaiah Cassidy for the TNT Championship. And remember, people, with the way this match was set up. Having lost their tag team championship match on last week's show against the Jurassic Express. Private Party gets rewarded for that title loss, with one of their teammates getting a TNT title shot. Because wins and losses matter in AEW. And, well, they did a flippy-dippy back-and-forth stunt show match for a while. Of course, we get the obligatory dive spot from Sammy where he completely misses the guy on the landing and somehow doesn't completely shatter his ankles or knees. Honestly, like, the whole circus stunt fest thing wasn't even what bothered me most about the match. Can someone please explain to me why Sammy's even bothering to tape his ribs at this point if he's just going to do every fucking move he normally does, including all the flips, and he does absolutely nothing to sell the rib injury? Apparently, Sammy doesn't understand how body tape works in pro wrestling. I did appreciate the spot in this match where Jericho got pissed at Andrade's manager for being out there, and he just goes, "Who the hell is that guy anyway?" I think we've been all asking that question since Andrade showed up and went through about 16 managers within the span of 3 weeks. Oh yeah, guess I forgot to mention that fact. Andrade was out there. Just randomly comes out with his theme music during the match. And of course, because Sammy's a stupid babyface, he just stops wrestling to get cut off by Cassidy for the heat. I mean, probably wouldn't have looked as stupid if Sammy wasn't actively turning to look at Andrade coming down the ramp for a solid minute before Cassidy finally cut him off, but whatever. Yeah, the company that likes to take potshot after potshot at WWE can just never help themselves but do low-rent WWE angles and matches. And they did a million moves at the end. Sammy won with the GTH, and after the heels tried jumping Sammy, Darby Allin ran out for the save and sort of acknowledged that he's interested in the TNT Championship. All right, then. Which it did also hit me not long after the fact. Oh, yeah. Kind of forgot that Darby Allin was the TNT Champion at one point. We had one of the fakest, horribly contrived looking beatdown sessions I think I've seen AEW do in a long time. Well, no, actually that's a lie. Probably one of the fakest, horribly contrived looking beatdowns since the Brandy Rhodes Paige Van Zant pull apart on Wednesday. It begins with Chris Statlander attempting to be mad at Layla Hirsch for turning on her. And, oh wow, who didn't see this coming? Layla runs in with a chair and hits Statlander from behind. I think Tony Schiavone was the only one that did not see this coming. I mean, you think after conducting at least 300 of these backstage Delia Bobs, 299 of which end with either mass beatdown or brawls, maybe Tony would have gotten a clue at some point. And after Layla hits Statlander across the back with a chair, she proceeds to toss the chair down at Statlander so that she can conveniently catch it near her face so Layla can kick the chair into her face. Seriously, whoever came up with that dumbass chair spot needs to be fucking neutered. The best part of the whole segment, though, was the deal afterwards where Red Velvet ran in to... I wrote down express concern, and I have seen robots show more emotion than Red Velvet did in this segment. I will attempt to reiterate, but I still don't think I can be that robotic. Oh my god, Chris, are you okay? You okay? What happened? I just want you to know, people, there's a reason that they call them pre-tapes in wrestling. Pre-taped, meaning taped and edited in advance, meaning not live, meaning we can do a retake if we need to. Apparently not in AEW, though. Nope. One take. We're good. Put that shit right on television. That was some NXT level female performing right there. But let's talk about some talented females, shall we? Thunder Rosa versus Mercedes Martinez. Feud that I really wish they'd have spent more time playing up on TV, because Rosa and Martinez are really good professional wrestlers that deserve more attention on television each week. And they had a really solid match. It wasn't a WrestleMania classic or anything like that, but it was good. Again, both girls at least know what they're doing in there, so I could at least watch a women's match in AEW without being on pins and needles, wondering who was going to fuck up their next spot. The DQ finish was surprising, but I said this during my Rumble recap, and I'll say it again. I'm okay with countouts and DQ finishes in wrestling, if they're done properly. And this was well done. Jericho's immediate response to the DQ finish was stupid, where he says, and I quote, "A DQ finish in AEW? We never see that." So good to know Jericho doesn't watch the show either. Guess we've already forgotten about the MJF DQ at the beginning of the year. Christ, I remember that. I usually forget most shit that happens after this show's over. But the reason the DQ finish worked here, not only are they keeping the feud going, which is good, but they shot the deal in the back afterwards with Britt Baker, basically informing everyone that she brought Mercedes into AEW and paid her to take out Rosa, and now she wants her to get the job done. Great. A hit and run bounty angle in pro wrestling. I love those kinds of stories. Personally, I think they could have milked it better. I think, maybe making the Martinez-Britt affiliation a surprise, that would have been better. But, this works. Britt's threatened by Rosa being the next probable challenger, so she hired a muscle to try and take her out to avoid having to defend the belt against her. Perfect. It's the Ric Flair, Kerry Von Erich story of 82 in world class, just, lesser star power, and it's not a main event angle. Speaking of the main event, Jay Lethal versus Ricky Starks for the FTW Championship. Yeah, Jay Lethal still exists. Good to know AEW figured that one out, 3 months after he signed a fucking contract with them. And while I still cannot get over how long it's taken AEW to come to the realization that they should utilize and push Jay fucking Lethal on TV more, now we know what we've been missing out on. God, this match was so much fun. Both guys are great workers. They did a very old school but modernized NWA Mid-Atlantic style title match. Starks is a phenomenal heel. Perfect facials. He's so smooth with everything he does. Lethal's a great babyface. Hobbs' involvement on the outside was just about perfect. Wasn't too much. Wasn't overly excessive. And I think I've talked about this before, but man, I love listening to Taz call his group's matches. He's the perfect balance between calling the action like an effective heel color commentator should, but not going so over the top with it to the point where it just drives you mad. It's like watching Austin Idol do color commentary in NWA. It's just turn the channel heat. But, I love when he's willing to even credit his guys' opponents when they earn it. Taz is really good at his job. And that finish was fucking awesome. Starks reversing that Lethal combination into the Rochambeau, that looked really good. I have zero complaints about anything in this final segment. Very good work from both guys here. And I was even alright with them not doing the title switch. The whole FTW title thing in AEW is still really hard for me to wrap my head around. Are they acknowledging the championship? Are they not acknowledging it? I'm still really not clear on that whole deal. But if they do more stuff like this with these guys and they're actually going to try and craft a real feud around the belt, I'd probably say they should go out of their way to present it like the TNT title or the AEW World title. Why not? Just outright claim it as a third-tier title and do more defenses instead of only having Ricky defend the damn thing once every 6 Earth rotations. But, these are two guys that I really would like to see more on AEW TV. Can the bull crap with Orange Cassidy and Chucklefuck Taylor and all the D- level crew and do more shit with Jay Lethal, Ricky Starks, and Powerhouse Hobbs. I know they won't because these people are retarded and they have no idea what they're doing, but I can dream, can't I? I actually ended up liking this show, especially that main event. The Adam Cole Hangman Page stuff is an entirely different ordeal, but, you know, if they're done with the Orange Cassidy clown crap with the Undisputed Era, and they are going to actually try to reconcile whatever is left of Cole's credibility, good on them, but they got a lot of work to do to get me back on board after having watched all that bullshit he's been associated with since November. Wasn't fond of the TNT title match on the show. Just too move oriented and just not my flavor of match. But I like the women's match, even with the fucked finish, and the main event was great. Isn't it amazing when you actually book talented people on your show, you get better results? Who'd have thunk it? Let's move right along here with NWA Powerrr from February 1st, 2022. And the big main event for the show was Trevor Murdoch versus Mike Knox for the world title. So they started with both guys at the booth with Kyle Davis to do some verbal jabbing and jousting. And aside from my brief one-liner I wrote down here that Mike Knox still cannot cut a promo after all these years, there really wasn't much to it. Again, the whole Murdoch-Cardona-Knox feud has not really clicked with me, and after having watched a Matt Cardona match in Garbage Championship Wrestling a couple weeks back, I was definitely vindicated as to why I never bought Cardona as anything other than an undercard dork for most of his career. But credit where it's due, Trevor Murdoch's a hell of a promo, and the whole Mid-South delivery of his Southern-style babyface promos really give off the impression that his matches are a big deal. It sucks, too, because, I just sat here listening 10 minutes ago and talked about how AEW's top world champion just doesn't feel or come across like a world champion with the way he's presented on TV. And meanwhile, I watch Trevor Murdoch every week on this show, and yeah, I know Trevor was never viewed as a top guy for a lot of his career, but god damn it, son, he just feels and comes off like a world champion should. The fact that he can take a title rematch between him and Mike Knox of all people and make it feel like a big deal, that's saying something. First match was the Ill-Begotten taking on the Dirty Dildos. I'm still not all that familiar with the members of the Ill-Begotten team. The guy with the brown mullet deal, I think his name is Rush Friedman. The goofball with the porn stash and the blue jumpsuit, I know his name is Captain Yuma. And the blonde guy, I think they said his name was Alex Taylor. And I spent the entire match trying to figure out the Ill-Begotten guys' names, and basically doing everything to convince myself that these guys are not the next coming of the Naturals. Where in the 4 or 5 years I spent watching the Naturals and TNA, I still couldn't figure out those guys, but never mattered because they sucked. All I know is Fandango got the pin, and he did not shake his ass or waddle his hips afterwards, so I presume I was supposed to buy that this was a real important grudge match. Alright then. Did not buy it. We had a heart-to-heart segment with Kiera Hogan and Mae Valentine. And while I would not say I was sold on the name they presented with this segment, I actually ended up really liking how this was done. I'm a sucker in pro wrestling for sit-downs and interviews where the guys or girls just talk about their careers and backgrounds, state what their goals and ambitions are, and basically just give me a reason to care. That's all I ask for in wrestling. Just give me a reason to care. And Kiera talked about her matches with Mickey, how she grew up idolizing her, but it still bothers her that she wasn't able to beat her yet. While she has her sights set on getting that win over her down the road, she's also actively working toward championship goal with more training, more wins, and staying motivated and humble. It's grassroots fundamental pro wrestling storytelling, and yet here I sit in 2022 wondering why most companies can never get it fucking right. I mean, yeah, sit-downs are not necessarily the most riveting forms of television in wrestling. Yeah, they can come off boring, especially if the wrestler doing the promo is not particularly good at it. But I mean, Kira did perfectly fine here. She's not sensational Sherry or Sunny or anything like that, but I mean, she sounds authentic. Certainly better than fucking Sable, I can tell you that much. Following that, we had another May Valentine interview. It was with Jax Danes' legal representative, Christopher Silvio Esquire. And, I mean, I'll be honest, I did not write a whole lot down about the dialogue here. My question more so has to do with the guy they found to play the role of the legal rep for Jax Dane. At least if you're going to go down this road, could you not find someone who actually looks the part? At least get a dude who's clean shaven and can sport a well-fitted suit. This guy just looks like every indie goof on the market. Also can't take him seriously when May Valentine's standing next to him and easily towers over him by a good 3 to 4 inches. So then we get this Sal Renaro Scion no DQ plunder match. Don't ask me how or why, I have no idea. In fact, it's probably better if you don't ask me to clarify anything on this show involving Sal, Father James Mitchell, or Judas. My favorite part of the segment was the deal beforehand where Sal was super excited to see James Mitchell come out, and while he is in the ring screaming, "Father, you're here," you just hear Tim Storm on commentary give a quick snicker. Probably thinking to himself, this is the match they called me out to do color commentary for? Anyway, they had a moderately underwhelming plunder match. Actually, the best part of the match wasn't even a spot involving weapons. The best part is when Scion hoisted up Sal into a surfboard submission hold, and he started rolling on the mat with him still up in the surfboard. And then to break the hold, he just launched Sal straight up into the air face down on the ring mat. That was awesome. And the finish saw Austin Idol come out to... I'm still not exactly sure what he was doing. I guess motivating Scion to get back in the ring. And he ducked a running charge from Sal, hit him with the Death Valley driver, and ended up tapping him out with a crossface while shoving the ring bell hammer into his eye sockets, which somehow did not result in Sal gushing blood after the fact. So you're telling me this was a worked eye gouge? Bullshit. Oh yeah, and Judas and Mitchell left Sal in grave disappointment. We had a skit involving Taryn Terrell, so I skipped right ahead with that one. I did want to note this too. They aired a couple pre-tapes centered around this upcoming Team Wars gimmick, which I guess is their way of introducing a trios tag series in the NWA. It looks like they aren't going to put belts into the equation, but rather the winner is going to get, or I should say the winning team is going to get $30,000. And I didn't write down the names of the teams that are taking part in this, but the team captains got to do some pre-tape promos beforehand. And the best one I saw came from Austin Idol's crew, where Tyrus, Black G's, and Jordan Clearwater were all joking about where they should donate the funds to. And Tyrus just goes, "I know where we should donate it. My bank account." And they all did the maniacal heel laugh afterwards. I thought that was funny. Much like I think Tyrus is funny. He's got a good sense of humor. I like Tyrus. And we got our main event, the Hard Times rematch between Mike Knox and Trevor Murdoch for the NWA World's Heavyweight Championship. And it was a passable main event. Basic stuff with Trevor running wild early on. Cardona came out from the back to run a distraction midway through, so Knox rammed Trevor into the ring post, shoulder first, and worked him over for the heat. Trevor made a quick comeback at the end. Knox actually took a pretty good spike DDT on his head. And the finish was Knox missing a charge in the corner. Trevor rolled him up for, what I think was supposed to be the 3 count, but Knox accidentally rolled out at like 2 3/4. So they kind of called an audible at the last second, and then Trevor just small packaged him and pinned him anyway. But they did a heat angle after the match with Trevor giving chase to Cardona around the ring. Knox ended up laying him out, and the heels stood over the champ holding up the belt. I have to say, Grumpy Velvet Sky is highly entertaining. She is so comically awful at pretending to be mad, I just can't help but laugh. I can't really describe it to you without just telling you to go watch it in person, but if you watch the replay of the show, just listen to Velvet Sky try to be angry at Cardona and Knox. It is a prime example of, I don't think Velvet Sky has ever gotten mad at anybody in her entire life because she was so unconvincing at pretending to be angry, I almost kind of felt bad for her. And, again, just to put a quick bow on the whole main event, I don't really dig the program, but they're going about doing it the right way with trying to build up intrigue in Cardona versus Murdoch, and it's generating the right reaction. They have a clear-cut villain, there's a clear-cut protagonist, and, they're constructing the story the right way. Cardona's the outsider, he's anti-NWA and hates what the company represents in the modern era of wrestling. Trevor's the button-down, serious babyface trying to defend the legacy and honor of the company. It's not a bad storyline. It's really not. I'm just not a Matt Cardona fan, and I really don't think he gels in the NWA environment. Which, again, is kind of why I'm hoping once they wrap up this program and Trevor retains, hopefully, Cardona and Knox just kind of fizzle out from the company altogether. And then Cardona can go back to doing his garbage light stick death matches on the indie circuit, and I won't have to watch him anymore. And we'll all be happy. This is a relatively good show, though. And apparently there is a pay-per-view upcoming next weekend. I believe on the 12th of February, right? Yeah, because today's the 6th. So yesterday was the 5th. Yeah, so that would be the 12th. Now they ran down a card, so sure. I didn't know anything about the show until, this one. But, it doesn't seem like it's one of their bigger featured shows. I know the Crockett Cup is upcoming in mid-March, but, I'll watch it on Fight. We'll see how it goes. They didn't announce it here, but because Trevor beat Knox, I presume this is going to set up Cardona versus Trevor for the belt. So, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. But we'll see how the pay-per-view goes. What I'll probably do is I'll just skip next week's Powerrr and just focus on the pay-per-view for the weekend show because, by the time I review Powerrr, it's going to be outdated anyway. So, that's probably what I'll do. And again, I know this is a shorter one, but, I really didn't find any indie events this weekend worth my time checking out. So, we're just sticking with AEW and NWA for this one. Of course, I'm here every Monday and Friday for new podcasts and new content, so come back and check out the show each Friday. You can either check it out on YouTube or Rumble. This Friday, we have the continuation of our retro review series. We also have another Dynamite review coming up. And again, in case you missed last Friday's show, we have been reviewing NWA World Championship Wrestling from 1986 and World Class Championship Wrestling from 1983. However, the next 2 weeks of World Class content is not uploaded on the Peacock library. So for the 11th and 18th of February, I'm actually going to sub out the World Class shows for recaps of WCW Super Brawl 6, which took place on February 11th in 1996. And then the following week, the 18th, I'm going to recap the 6th WWF In Your House event. And that'll get us back on track with the World Class shows at the end of the month. So, just so we're not jumping ahead in the dates in the archives. Because I do want to try to keep this relatively formatted like an actual retro review series. That was my intention, of course. So, stop back on Friday for that. I hope you all enjoyed the show. Would appreciate if you support the show by subbing, commenting, and liking the video. And I'll be back on Friday. Have a good one. Peace.